The Mandalorian Season 3 did not have the same overwhelmingly positive reception that Seasons 1 and 2 did, but was it as bad as some people said it was? In my opinion, kind of. I don't think the season was terrible by any means, but I did find it underwhelming, and I don't hold it in the same high regard that I hold the first two seasons. Most of the episodes stood as fun stories on their own, but the overall story of the season felt very disjointed and like it didn't know where it was going. I want to use the episode The Convert as an example. I really enjoyed it as I was watching it. I liked the world building, showing the flaws of the New Republic and the Imperial Amnesty Program, but the story ultimately went nowhere. Kane fried Pershing's brain, and the rest of the story didn't matter in the long run. The weaknesses of the New Republic present in the episode didn't amount to anything either by the end of the season. The Mines of Mandalore had a huge reveal with the mythosaur, but really didn't go anywhere with it other than helping Bo-Katan change her perception. I gave these episodes the benefit of the doubt, hoping the finale would give a payoff to the reveals and seeds that were built up, but unfortunately the finale really dropped the ball in my opinion by only giving the most basic and surface level answers to questions that have come up not only during this season, but the first two as well. The finale felt like it was rushing to tie up the series-long story it had built up to in a nice little bow. I got the impression that it was written with the thought that it would be the series finale, so they needed to plug up all the holes, and they did so in the least interesting way. This started very early on in the episode, with Din's capture immediately undone. Grogu saves him, and that's that. They didn't let us feel any tension for what Gideon would do to Din. Instead of giving us Moff Gideon early on in the season and actually doing something with his clones, which have been built up to since the beginning of the series, Mando blows them up the first time we see them, and Gideon gives some quick and really lazily written exposition explaining why he needed Grogu in the first place. I don't think anyone was really surprised by Gideon's revelation, which is fine, but it would have been much more satisfying if they had actually used the clones as part of the story in some way. All the mystery really didn't matter in the end. I liked the moment when the darksaber was destroyed, but I wish the Mandalorians at least acknowledged that they would still follow Bo-Katan without the darksaber. It could have made for a very powerful scene, but instead it's not brought up after it's destroyed. This might just be a nitpick though, as it might come into play next season. I don't know if Moff Gideon is actually dead, but if so, he has one of the goofiest deaths I've ever seen in Star Wars, especially for a villain that has been taken seriously. He just stands there for a few seconds, throws up his arms, and screams. He gives up pretty quickly on trying to survive. Credit where credit is due though, I really like the design of Gideon's armor, and I would love that action figure, even if I didn't care for the episode. Everything else in the episode goes very predictably, which isn't always a bad thing, but in this case it just didn't work for me. Again, I feel like we got the least interesting version of wrapping up this story that we possibly could have. With a show like this, I expected finale to take some twists and turns and a few risks, but this one just played everything very safe. One of the most obvious overall themes of the season is that Mandalorians are stronger together, which they try to pay off several times throughout the season in 4 or 5 of the episodes. So by the time they work together in the finale, it doesn't have a lot of impact. It's exactly what we have seen happen other times during the season. I also wasn't the biggest fan of how they treated Din throughout the season. After redeeming himself in the Mines of Mandalore, he kind of takes a back seat for the rest of the season, becoming an object rather than an agent for the most part, following Bo and the other Mandalorians from place to place, but not having much personal growth. We could have had an incredible character moment if Gideon had removed his helmet, which a lot of people thought might happen, as it would force him to make a moral choice of what kind of Mandalorian he would be. Embrace tradition or pave a new way. It would have been nice if Din had to make some kind of difficult decision that would move his character along. I do want to bring up some of the positives of the season for me. I'm definitely in the minority on this, but my favorite episode of the season might have been Guns for Hire. It was really cheesy and didn't connect to the overall story hardly at all, but I enjoyed it as a fun classic Star Wars adventure like you would find in the old Marvel comics. Did Jack Black and Lizzo take me out of the story? Yeah, but I saw it as a sign early on that the episode wasn't going to take itself too seriously, so in a way it helped set the tone for me. And what the heck, they were fun to have around, and so was Christopher Lloyd. Just a nice little Star Wars adventure to enjoy. It's certainly filler, and I get why people dislike the episode, but it gave me a bigger smile than any other episode did this season, so I guess it's my favorite. I thought episode 7 was very good too. It felt like the season was finally building to something big, bringing back Gideon and bringing the characters to Mandalore. It had some great little fan service moments too, especially getting to see Captain Pellaeon. Paz Viszla against the Praetorian Guards was a great scene as well. I just wish the quality of this episode had carried over into the finale. And like I said, I think pretty much every chapter is well made and is a solid episode on its own, but when you put them all together as an overarching story, it's a bit of a mess. I think if they had done a few different things with the finale and given some more time to pay off what was built up to, I would have a more positive overall reaction to the season. I think if Gideon had actually deployed his clones and Bo came in riding the mythosaur to help Din and Grogu in the fight, it would have gone a long way to making the episode feel more like a season finale. It would have been great too to give Din some kind of difficult choice to make. This is really just my opinion though, and I don't want to come off as a negative person. person. I still love The Mandalorian. I was just hoping for a little more from this season. I'm still definitely looking forward to the future of Star Wars, and I love these characters and want to see more of them. These are my honest thoughts on the finale and season 3, and I'd love to hear yours. Did you want more from season 3, or did you like how the story went? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future Star Wars videos.